Hanford on Bagley, and it is a different sort of build because I did not come up with this build myself, and it uses packs from a viewer. So Jinnie's Labios messaged me asking if I would create them another sort of build because I did make one at one point, but that was before I knew what packs they had. So I kind of just like picked what packs I liked. And they ended up not having Horse Ranch, which I only used a little bit, so they only had to change a few things. But this build now is entirely just the packs that they have. I used the James Turner pack disable mod to disable the packs that they didn't have. And so it became this house, and they had really like detailed inspiration pictures that they sent me, which I don't think I'm gonna pull up, unfortunately, because there are so many, and I think it would take a lot of time. So I'm not going to pull them up, but I may do a collage Instagram story post showing all of it. So if you're interested in that, then you'll have to follow me on Instagram and stories go away in like 24 hours. So that's also a thing, but I'll post it starting like the day that I post this video on YouTube. Um so they sent me a picture of a pool that was in a sunroom, and it looked really, really beautiful, and that's all that they originally sent me. And then I picked a reference picture myself and I tried to do it, but by the time I finished that exterior, I realized that it did not go well with what the interior was going to be. And so this interior is a little bit different from what I usually do too. It's a little bit more contemporary, which I ended up really liking. And as I was like starting it, I realized that it made me really want to play in The Sims. And so Ginny's had a like I guess a family in mind, a certain number of bedrooms that they wanted in the build. They wanted a nursery and stuff. So that's all included. It is four a 4 bedroom home with I think 2 bathrooms. It's a pretty large house, but the upstairs was a little bit smaller. So the bedrooms aren't as big as they probably could have been, but that's okay. It fits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Sims, including the baby. I have to like envision what the house floor plan looks like in my head. But yeah, so I built a house and it did not work for what I wanted, and I kind of told them that. And so they sent me like 4 different sort of English style cottages, and they kind of said like castle type cottage build. And so like combined some aspects of everything together. So the front shape was inspired by one of the pictures, and then I kind of just made up my own back for it. And then they wanted ivy all over the place, kind of to make it look like a terrarium. And so I ended up doing that. There's ivy everywhere. And they wanted it on I think it was this lot in Henford. They had said the size of the lot, I think, and this is the size of the lot. It's also the lot that I had originally built a little house for them, and it was so much fun. I guess it's like sort of like a commission, but it's free, and it felt more like a collaboration, which was really fun and different, and I liked building something with so many like specific pictures to look at for reference. It felt challenging, and it took me a little while, so thank you for your patience, Jace. I know that you messaged me a lot of this stuff kind of probably over a month ago. I want to say maybe even going on 2 months. And I like once I did the one build where I didn't like it, I had to take a step away and just kind of like forget about that build so then I could just start fresh. And I'm happy that I have it done now, and I love this build. Also, if you download this, and also to Ginny, if you want to change things, feel free to change things. You want to hurt my feelings. I kind of just did what I thought kind of replicated some of the vibes in the images, and you have creative freedom to change anything in the build that you want. So this part is a little pergola, which was also in one of the pictures. It had a pergola with a kind of like wooden pathway leading somewhere, and I wanted to capture each of the images a little bit, but in my own way because um, I I can't follow a picture to that extreme level. And so there's like elevation in this build where there is an elevation in some of the inspiration pictures. So it's very loose interpretation of what the pictures looked like, which is also why I'm just not going to pull them up because they do seem very different. But I'll mention that it was inspired by them, and then I'll have all of the pictures in a collage. Um, you know what? I realized that I could just put it in a Google Doc and I could link the Google Doc in the description. I think that's easier. So if you want to follow along, you could open up my Google Doc that will be in the description. I'll have to make sure I do that today or tomorrow. Um, but anyway, I haven't really used brick in my exteriors, and I really loved how this came out. And I loved that porch that's has the archways with the debug fences. It felt very American Horror Story Murder House while I was doing that part. And that was like a part of a build that I always wanted to kind of like have in my Sims builds, but I never knew how to start or where to start getting that shape for it. And it kind of just accidentally happened with this, which I really liked because I think it looked like one of the reference pictures, which you'll see now that I realize that I could just put it in a Google Doc instead of a story. So I'll have to type a little message in the beginning when I'm explaining that just to make it easier because I don't know what I was thinking saying that I would put it in a Instagram story that's gonna expire, and so if you wanna see it, then you gotta go and see before it disappears. Um, yeah. I love these windows. So another thing that Jinnie was talking about was that they really liked the Strangerville windows that I used on one of my builds, and they just recently got Strangerville. And so I made sure that most of the windows I used was from that pack. I think they specifically liked the green ones, but the green ones didn't work for this, so I went with this darker brown color instead because it kind of just matched into everything. And some of the other reference pictures had sort of little tiny fountain waterfalls around, which I didn't really know how to do, and I don't know if it would work if I used the huge one size down. So instead I just put some of these little fountains around. Sorry if you could hear sneezing in the background. Someone's sneezing in my house. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of what this is. I just put rocks around with the different water features to replicate the moving water. I don't actually know what it looks like. I didn't pay close attention when I was recording the intro to this. Also, this video is a little bit different where I'm kind of saving the interior screenshots for the end. So the intro is a little bit shorter. It just shows the general house and the floor plan. And then at the end, I can kind of focus more time onto the interior pictures where I don't feel rushed that they're at the beginning, which I think might be a good way to do it from now on. I'm going to test around and change things and see what works best for me. But for this ivy, I'm layering Discover University and Vampire Ivy around, which I think this is my first time doing that. And I realized that I really like it because some of the ivy pieces, like these are kind of hard to place around in some areas. So I place them where they fit, and then I'll have the vampire ivy kind of like follow that line up into other areas of the house where the ivy might not fit, or I'd have to use tool to kind of fix it and stuff. I want to play test this build before I upload it to make sure it all works, especially because I'm using tool and Jinnie's is on console. And so if there's a problem with some of the tool rocks, then they kind of want to be able to fix that and put it back to how it normally is. So I want to make sure it all works. I don't think I actually used that much tool in this area. I kind of just layered the rocks, and they fit pretty well. I think it's because I'm using the cats and dogs rocks, which I feel like I talk about this in almost every single video, but the cats and dogs rocks, they play so smoothly compared to some of the other rocks. And a while ago, I was like, I don't know, maybe it's just in my head, but I definitely tested it recently, and the cats and dogs rocks really just they work so much better to, like, slide up and down slopes, which is really nice. So if you're a console builder and you're kinda struggling with some of the rocks, I recommend those rocks completely. But yeah, I decided to connect the pond in the front to the little pond in the back, um, kind of like a tiny river just because I didn't know what to do with that space. I didn't want to overload the entire exterior with a bunch of greenery, so instead I overload it with a bunch of rocks. And my justification for doing this is that I'm like, well, Tattooed Simmer is a console builder, and she creates these beautiful landscapes with a lot of stuff. And it works fine on her console, so I think that it should be okay if I have this level of rocks. I'm sure gameplay is probably different. So if you need to delete some stuff, I guess I would recommend deleting some of the greenery first, maybe deleting some of the rocks that line the river first, and then saving some of the ones that are up against the elevation because it hides some of the terrain paint that's a little bit ugly. Like, you could probably just remove most of the rocks in that pond back there too, but keep the rocks, like, over here that lines the, elevated area that goes slightly up. Also, in one of the pictures, there was a greenhouse, and so I made sure that there was another greenhouse for planting. There's also a raised bed area, which I ended up creating with, Cottage Living plant like, dirt, um, objects and then half walls, but I couldn't do the half walls all the way around because I the Sims need to get in there. I don't think they could go over half walls. And so there's just like it's slightly open, but it gives the illusion of it, which was enough for me. I make these little stone paths around. These are just base game stones, which I used to see everybody use all the time, and I never knew where they were. And then I finally download Better Build Buy, which gives me easier access to all of these objects. And now it's like everyday things that I use, but I figured I'd point that out because a year ago they were not everyday use for me because I was so lazy with putting in cheats and stuff. But yeah, this is the raised bed area. I end up fencing it in a little bit and putting some flowers around. That reminds me of Sims 2 flowers because they're just flat to the ground. Also, this video is a bit longer because it's such a massive lot. I think it's a 50 by 40. um, the exterior definitely takes up majority of the time. I will say that I accidentally forgot to click record a couple of times in the interior, mostly in the bedrooms, which I was a little sad about because I created this kid's bedroom that I really loved, and then I realized I wasn't recording. And so instead, I decided to just pan over it so you could kind of see it for a little bit longer because I remembered at almost the end of me doing the bedroom, which is okay. I think that only happened a couple times. It happens with the pool area too. Also, I hung a lot of these string lights around because I think that was one of the like aspects that were in some of the reference picture was a lot of these string lights and little different like seating areas outside. So I made sure there's a lot of them. So this is one of them with the wooden pathway, and I have a lounge chair out there. And none of my builds ever have lounge chairs in it. This one has a lot because the pool area also has a lot. But yeah, I really had fun doing this build because I got to use so many objects that I never use because I always stick to one type of interior. And I guess I was just afraid of trying something different. And I really loved this, and I think that I'm gonna start adding more contemporary furnishings into some of my houses. Depends what kind. I like assume that a lot of my family homes will kind of have some more updated furniture, where some of my more like fantasy builds will have that like antique medieval um like vibe about them. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing this one. And yeah, I love these lights too. They're just from the free holiday kit, and I think I forget about those all the time as well. I don't know what section they're in. Are they in the lighting section? I'll have to pay close attention. No, they're in okay, they're in the, like, decoration area, which is why I forget about them, because anytime I'm looking for string lights, I check lighting, and these are not in lighting. And yeah, I have another little pergola here. I had to make sure it doesn't cut into the wall at all, but it ended up being okay. I don't know if Sims can walk through there yet. So if you download this and things are slightly moved over, it's because it wasn't functional. I also need to remember to put a fire alarm in this build because it would be a shame if they downloaded it and their Sims immediately caught fire. So I'm gonna put that in the build. And I'll remember because in my base game build, I'm like, I might forget to put in a smoke alarm and a trash can, but then I had to remind myself multiple times, and I uploaded that build so late to the gallery anyway that it gave me more time to remember to do that. But yeah, here's the greenhouse. The picture, it definitely doesn't look like the picture, but I wanted to like capture some elements of it, just having all the plants down a long greenhouse and then having hanging plants on the walls, and I figured that was fair enough. And if you want to like add any more details to these areas, then definitely feel free to do that. I was definitely worried about how long this video was going to be, and I was like unnecessarily stressing on if I was going to make it a two-part video or a one-part video. I guess a normal video ends up being just one video, a pretty long video, but it felt better. I didn't want to have them in separate places. I just wanted to have the interior with the exterior because I really love both of them, and so I wanted to give people more. I wanted it to be more likely that people would see both instead of just one or the other because I really enjoy both of them. And yeah, the greenhouse, I use a lot of these high school years light curtains that I guess are for over the bed, but I use it down here because it worked. Like this does not look anything like the picture that was sent, but I felt like maybe it looked better. Like I preferred this over the picture. Like the picture definitely looked very beautiful and um almost tropical, and this I like just like the lighting and ambiance in this room. And I must say that I do put algae in the pool. You can swap out the water when you download it. I buffered while I did it, and I was like, Megan, are you gonna give Jinnie algae filled pool water in this beautiful sunroom? And I had to sit there and really like contemplate. And I was like, you know what? I'll just apologize for doing it and then encourage them to change it. But it looks really pretty. You'll know why I kept it in literally a second. Yeah, see, it just like it looked so much better, looked so much more natural that I couldn't change it back after I had seen it like this. Like it ties in with all of the like plants and ivy around that it needed to stay like that. And the cream colored floaty on it, yeah, I was sold immediately. And this is now the floor plan of the build. It is really difficult to get this floor plan at first. I change a lot of stuff around. Also, I don't have um the bedroom floor plan in this video, so I apologize. I think I lost the footage somewhere, but yeah, the downstairs was what I struggled most with anyway. The upstairs, I just placed the stairs and I found where I wanted the bathroom, and then I put the bedrooms around where I felt like it flowed naturally from the hallways. For this kitchen, I knew that I wanted the kitchen with these large Strangerville windows in the front, and I was thinking how that would be a very large kitchen, but it ends up being a super large kitchen, which is one of my favorite areas of the house, which is it's in right now. So the reference picture had, well, there was like three different ones. I think two of them had green walls, and that's kind of what's stuck in my head and what I really wanted to do. And so I picked out these green tiles matched with the base game green walls with the brown trim, and without G shade it looks a little bit brighter, but it's not bad or anything. I kept taking off my G shade while I was building this because I know that Jinnie's is a console builder and like can't have that, but also most people don't play with reshade on in gameplay anyway because it's kind of like hard on the computer to do that. Like, when I have G-Shade on, it nearly maxes out my GPU, and I like to think that I have a pretty good computer. I guess maybe it's getting a little bit outdated now because I got this computer in 2021 and it's almost 2024, so maybe that's also why. But yeah, I can't stream with G-Shade on, um, and like play and stuff. So I could only do speed builds with G-Shade on because that's the only thing that my GPU is using at that time. And yeah, there's lots of plants around the build, because they kind of said that they wanted it to seem like a terrarium. And so I have some ivy on the interior walls as well, mostly just in the kitchen and dining room because it felt the most natural. I love the dark wood in here and the brown walls mixed with the green. This is the point in the build where I was like, I want to make a family and live here, but the likelihood of that happening is very low because I get inspired to want to do gameplay and then it immediately dies down. Um, and also, I think that my attention span on a family with a house that I have to cheat money is super low as well because then I don't know what to do because most of the gameplay I enjoy is making my Sims like really have to make money to like afford bigger houses and afford to like add on rooms for like future kids and stuff. And that's how I really like to play The Sims. And so if I have to cheat money for a house, I lose interest almost immediately. And so if I'd ever play in this house, I'll have to have my Sims work up to it, which I believe this house is super expensive. I didn't check, but from the size and from the amount of plants that are in this build, I can only imagine that it's super expensive. And I got to use this globe light for what feels like the first time as well. Um, it felt like it just fit in really nicely in here, and in the reference picture, there was yellow chairs um, in the dining room, so I kinda switched out the green ones. If you prefer the green ones, you could definitely switch them back. Um, I like both, so it really didn't matter. I used the green chairs in the living room after anyway, because I really liked them. But yeah, there's lots of ivy in this room. I used a lot of Snowy Escape in this section of the house too. Yeah, I love how earthy the pack makes this area, and it goes really well with the base game walls too. I believe that all of these walls in this section of the house are base game. The wooden walls and the green walls are definitely base game. I have to assume that the green tile's also base game because I don't know what other pack that would be in. Um, yeah, so I did a little bar area because I figured in case you want your Sims to practice mixology, this house is so big that there was space for it. So I squeezed it in. If you don't want it there, then definitely feel free to delete it as well and maybe put something else back there, like a little desk maybe. Um, a little mudroom off to the side that leads out to that little area with the wooden path. I realize every time I do a video, I say little and small so much. That's just my way of describing things. And I'm like, yeah, this little room over here, and it could be like the biggest room you've ever seen, and I'll still call it a little room for some reason. And also, that towel rack is base game now. I guess it's technically like a nursery item for your Sims because I believe it came out recently. Or I guess last year is when they updated a lot of the toddler or infant stuff. Yeah, I love that item now. Those are the sort of items I need a favorite using Twistedmexi's new feature and better build by. I always forget. And also someone at my Twitch stream the other day said that you need to back up what was the file? They said that you need to back up a certain file or it gets reset with updates. Oh, I don't remember what it was now. Is it a data file? I'll have to look it up. Because I even said when they told me that, I was like, that's a really good to know. But I'm gonna forget. And here I am. I remembered what they said, but I don't remember what file it was. I'll constantly forget on updates anyway. I'm the type of person that when a new update comes out, I usually risk it and I don't really back my stuff up. And I only just started to because my friend Sash lost all of her stuff in an update, and I was like, "Damn, that's, like, too close to home now, is seeing my friend lose all of their stuff," and it's made me back up my stuff more often, only for huge updates now. Like, if I'm on Twitter and I see people saying, "Remember to back up your saves today," I'm backing up my saves that day after seeing what happened to Sash. If it's little updates, I'm like, "That's fine. I'm sure it's okay." And people usually don't, like, tell you to back up your stuff on that day anyway. So it should be safe and okay. Um, yeah, I never remove my mods from my game when I update, which maybe is a bad thing. I haven't had anything bad happen yet. Um, and I should really keep it that way and make sure that I follow the instructions that people tell you to follow when updating mods and also updating your game. So don't listen to me when I say that I don't back up my stuff. I'm slowly backing them up every time now. But yeah, I talked over this living room. There was reference pictures for this as well. I liked there was a corner seating area that was sort of defined by a bookcase like it is here. And this was me trying to replicate the shelf I kind of made in my base game only cottage, but I couldn't do it. I used all my energy on that shelving, and now it's not. My stomach is like growling because I'm hungry. I don't know if you could hear that. I'm gonna have breakfast after this, but I already started this and it's like I'm almost done. This bathroom is really, really beautiful. Second favorite part of the house, I think. It would be my favorite part if it was a little bit bigger and easier to take pictures of, but because it's pretty small, it's not my favorite. But yeah, this they sent me these like beautiful bathroom pictures, and it was like a bathtub and sort of a bay window area with a bunch of plants around. One of them had stained glass, but I realized too late that I didn't put any stained glass windows, and I thought it would be fine to do something like this, layering these plants around. And I think that using the packs that they own definitely helped me to discover some new techniques for windows, because normally I'm lazy and I use the curtains from the blooming room kit that has the plants hanging down, but I was using these sorts of objects like in almost every window, and I don't remember what pack they're from. If they're from what is that pack called? I don't even remember what that pack is called. It's the like gentrification pack. What was that pack called? I get it's lost my mind. Eco Living. Is it from Eco Living? I think it might be. Yeah, I'm gonna use that item from now on. See, I find little items here and there when I do pack limited builds, and this build has a lot of packs. Um, but it limited me a little bit and enough to find some items that I really like. They also sent me a picture of a nursery, and it was very like bright white and cozy and had like a fluffy rug. So that's kind of what I was doing here. I gave a little sitting area in the tower, and I realized that the tower above you can't get to, which is fine. You don't really need to get over there at all, but I almost never do large nurseries because I always like throw them in the smallest room in the house. And this is the smallest room in the house, but because the house is so big, it ended up being like a normal sized nursery. I almost put a toddler bed in too, but I figured that they could definitely replace the infant crib with a toddler bed as their child ages up, and it shouldn't be that much of a difference. And this is the teen room. There is like a couple bedroom inspiration pictures, so this one I did more of the like the lighter palette. It's very white in here, which is most of the kids' bedrooms are very light and airy like this. I'm using the high school years drapes again over the bed this time. It looks really nice, and this is around the time I forget to record again. So here it is. Here's the beautiful kids' bedroom that I really, really liked. And I used more of those plants around the bed, which maybe it's from Eco Living, maybe it's not. I can't remember. But I felt like they worked really well as bed dividers. And so this is the parents' bedroom, one of the reference picture used a lot of like dark wood and red accents, and so I did that in here. There's also a picture, that they sent for, like, hallway inspiration, and so I used that in this bedroom, kind of leading towards the large bathroom. There is another bathroom on this floor too, so I guess this is a three-bedroom home. I didn't show me doing the other 2 bedrooms because the other 2 bathrooms because, they kind of just the same. They're pretty small, and I needed to save a little bit of time in this super long video that took me a very long time to edit too. But it's been fun. My friend's story has been, well, she did 1 co-working stream so far, I think, or I guess 2, but I couldn't work on the second one. But yeah, it's been helping me edit. And so I like was able to edit the base game builds like in one of her streams. And then I downloaded the game that she uses. It's called like Lo-Fi something on Steam, and it like lets you set the timer for kind of like work timers, and you have a task list, and you can find little spirits in your room and then they become your friends. It's a demo right now, but that's been encouraging me to like actually like edit these large videos because I have a lot more of them. I have my magic school build that I think is coming out next week that I need to edit. I don't know if it's as long as this one. I think it might be shorter, thankfully. And then I was like, okay, Megan, no more large builds for a little bit. Once you edit the magic school, that's it. And now I started Juby's castle thing. That's the whole video, and here are all the little screenshots I was saying I was able to put more in because I'm putting them at the end, and I'd like to try this again in the future, and doing it this way just shows little images of each of the rooms and more areas that would easily be forgotten about if I don't post them in this way or on my Instagram. But yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.